Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. The Washington Commanders walked away from Week 3 with a comfortable victory against the Las Vegas Raiders. But what should have been a day filled with confidence and optimism quickly turned into another nerve-wracking chapter for fans. Once again, the dark cloud hanging over this team isn't about their performance on the field, but about health. More specifically, the health of one of their cornerstones, wide receiver Terry McLaurin. For all the progress this squad has been trying to build in the early stages of the season, the McLaurin injury scare threatens to derail momentum before it has even had a chance to fully settle in. What makes the situation even more frustrating for Washington fans is that McLaurin finally looked like his old self again at Northwest Stadium. He has had a relatively slow start to the season, which isn't entirely shocking considering his long contract standoff with general manager Adam Peters kept him off the field for much of the summer. Timing, rhythm, and chemistry are things that don't just snap into place after months of absence, even for someone as consistent and dependable as McLaurin. That's why his performance against the Raiders felt like such a positive step forward. He hauled in 3 catches on 4 targets for 74 yards, flashing the explosiveness and route precision that earned him second-team All-Pro recognition not too long ago. For the first time this season, McLaurin seemed like the player fans could lean on as the heartbeat of the passing game. Then, in a cruel twist of fate, he left late in the game with what was described as a quad injury, listed as questionable to return. At the time, the Commanders already had the outcome secured, so there was no urgency in throwing McLaurin back into action. Head coach Dan Quinn made the right call in protecting him, but the anxiety now comes from not knowing the full extent of the damage. For a team already battered by injuries, the thought of losing their most reliable offensive weapon, even for a short period, feels like a gut punch. Further tests are scheduled, and until results come back, both the organization and its fan base are holding their breath, hoping this is nothing more than a minor knock that doesn't linger into next week's critical matchup against the Atlanta Falcons. The timing of the injury scare couldn't be worse. Washington is already navigating a brutal string of setbacks that have tested the depth of the roster and the resilience of the coaching staff. 2 established stars are already gone for the year, stripping the lineup of proven playmakers and forcing role players into bigger responsibilities earlier than planned. On top of that, their young superstar quarterback Jayden Daniels was sidelined in Week 3 with a sprained knee, a loss that looms large for the offense. Without Daniels orchestrating the attack, the passing game leans even more heavily on McLaurin's ability to win matchups and move the chains. If he too is out, the Commanders' offensive identity could collapse under the weight of inexperience and diminished firepower. For McLaurin himself, durability has never been in question. He's built a reputation as one of the league's toughest receivers, a guy who suits up every week and fights through the kind of bumps and bruises that might sideline others. That consistency is one of the reasons he's become not just a fan favorite, but a symbol of reliability for the entire franchise. Yet football is a violent game, and no player is immune from the occasional cruel twist of fate. Until the medical evaluations are conclusive, uncertainty will linger, and with uncertainty comes doubt. It doesn't help that the Commanders have been dealing with bizarre injury luck from all corners. Head coach Dan Quinn himself even needed stitches after a sideline collision with veteran quarterback Marcus Mariota during the game, a moment that felt almost symbolic of how chaotic things have been for this team in the opening weeks of the campaign. It's as though the football gods have decided to pile on the misfortune, testing Washington's resolve not just physically but emotionally. For a roster trying to establish itself as a serious contender, these constant setbacks threaten to chip away at confidence and continuity. McLaurin's injury scare also raises deeper questions about the Commanders' offensive structure. Without their star receiver, can the younger pass catchers shoulder the load? Can the running game elevate itself to a level where it alleviates some of the pressure on the passing attack? These are questions that don't have clear answers yet, and that uncertainty breeds nervousness. Washington's depth chart is filled with promising talent, but promise isn't the same as proven production. In the unforgiving landscape of the NFL, every weakness gets exposed, and without McLaurin stretching defenses and serving as the quarterback's security blanket, opponents will be quick to exploit the vacuum. It's important to note that the Commanders' victory over the Raiders did show flashes of growth in other areas. The defense played with intensity, forcing key turnovers and setting the tone in the trenches. Special teams contributed with solid field position throughout the game. The offensive line, though inconsistent, provided enough stability to keep the attack balanced. These are encouraging signs that Washington is building something sustainable. But the NFL is a league of stars, and stars are often the difference between a good team and a great one. Terry McLaurin is one of those stars. Losing him, even temporarily, shifts the ceiling of what this team can accomplish in the short term. Fans are right to feel anxious because they've seen this story before. Every season seems to bring one defining injury that changes the entire trajectory of the year, and the Commanders can't afford for McLaurin's situation to be that moment. The optimism around this franchise has been fragile, growing from a combination of new leadership, fresh talent, and the hope that they could finally compete with the NFC's elite. That optimism needs McLaurin's presence to stay alive. He's not just a statistical leader. He's an emotional anchor, the player who commands respect from defenses and inspires confidence in teammates. For now, all anyone can do is wait. Wait for the test results. Wait for the injury reports. Wait for clarity in a season that has already been anything but straightforward. McLaurin may very well suit up against the Falcons and put this scare behind him. But until then, the Commanders find themselves in a holding pattern. They've already endured more than their share of turmoil in the opening weeks, and another blow would feel catastrophic. The bottom line is simple. Terry McLaurin matters too much to this team for them to function at their best without him. Anything less than good news regarding his health would carry grave consequences, not just for next week, but for the direction of the entire season. The Commanders can celebrate the victory over the Raiders, but the joy comes with a shadow. In Washington, hope and fear are walking hand in hand, and all eyes are fixed on the status of number 17. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. The news is spreading fast, and it has the entire NFL world buzzing. Word just broke that the league has officially canceled the scheduled game between the Green Bay Packers and the Washington Commanders, and the fallout is nothing short of explosive. Fans, analysts, and insiders are all scrambling to figure out how something of this magnitude could even happen, especially in a league that prides itself on stability, consistency, and a product that rarely bends to controversy. The NFL does not simply cancel games, at least not without a hurricane, a blizzard, or some other force of nature stepping in. This time, however, the circumstances seem murky, mysterious, and absolutely ripe for debate, and people are already calling it one of the most controversial moves the league has made in years. The timing of the announcement only added fuel to the fire. The NFL dropped the bombshell late in the evening, long after the usual cycle of press releases and official communications had wrapped up. That, in itself, felt suspicious to many. Why wait until most of the sports media world had already shifted into downtime? Why not get ahead of the narrative with a clear explanation, instead of tossing a vague, almost cryptic message into the void? The official line from the league's office cited unforeseen circumstances, but those two words raise far more questions than they answer. Fans immediately took to social media, flooding platforms with speculation ranging from logistical issues to behind-the-scenes disputes that nobody wants to talk about publicly. In Green Bay, the reaction was swift and emotional. The Packers have one of the most passionate fan bases in all of sports, and for them, every single game is a ritual, a gathering, and in many ways, a sacred event. The idea that their matchup against Washington could be erased from the schedule felt like an insult, almost as if the league was underestimating their loyalty and their importance to the NFL landscape. Bars, restaurants, and small businesses around Lambeau Field had been gearing up for a spike in activity, and now many are left in limbo, unsure what to do with the staffing, the supplies, and the energy they had planned to pour into game day. Local media in Wisconsin is already demanding more clarity, with some reporters insisting that the story behind this decision is much deeper and potentially much darker than the NFL is willing to admit. Meanwhile, in Washington, the news landed with a strange mix of frustration and confusion. The Commanders' fan base, which has endured years of turmoil, mismanagement, and off-field drama, had seen this matchup as a chance to test themselves against one of the league's most historic franchises. It was supposed to be a measuring stick game, a litmus test for where this roster truly stands. Instead, that opportunity is gone, and the uncertainty around the cancellation only adds to the perception that the Commanders are cursed with bad fortune at every turn. Some fans online joked bitterly that Washington must be the only franchise in the league capable of having an actual game ripped out of their hands at the last minute. But underneath the humor lies real anger and exhaustion. The league's reputation has taken a hit as well, because whenever the NFL fails to provide transparency, conspiracy theories inevitably rush in to fill the vacuum. Some people believe the cancellation has to do with ongoing concerns about player safety, perhaps tied to an undisclosed injury or medical situation. Others have suggested it could be linked to disputes over scheduling conflicts, television rights, or even the condition of one of the stadiums involved. A few voices in the sports media are even whispering about internal conflicts between ownership groups, hinting that this cancellation might have been less about logistics and more about power struggles playing out in the shadows. With no clear answers, every theory feels plausible, and the lack of communication from the league only makes the silence more deafening. Former players and analysts have chimed in too, and their reactions have been telling. Some are sympathetic, acknowledging that if the NFL truly felt this move was necessary, there must be information the public doesn't yet know. Others, however, are openly critical, pointing out that the NFL is supposed to be the most meticulously organized sports league in the world, with billions of dollars riding on every decision. For them, this cancellation feels sloppy, unprofessional, and reflective of deeper cracks in the league's armor. One retired quarterback went so far as to say that the NFL has betrayed its own integrity by pulling the plug without offering even a shred of transparency. On the business side, the cancellation could have ripple effects that go far beyond just two teams. Television networks had already sold ad space around the matchup, sponsors had lined up their campaigns, and fans had purchased tickets, flights, and hotel rooms to attend the game. The financial impact could be staggering, and already there are whispers that legal teams are preparing for potential disputes. After all, when a league as massive as the NFL cancels an event that millions of people had invested in, both emotionally and financially, the fallout is never clean. This is not just about football anymore. This is about credibility, contracts, and the trust of a fan base that expects reliability above all else. The players themselves have been caught in the middle of the storm, and their responses have been intriguing. Several Packers veterans reportedly expressed disbelief when they heard the news, while younger Commanders players were said to be devastated that they'd lose an opportunity to showcase their talent against one of the league's most respected franchises. In a league where careers are short and opportunities can vanish in the blink of an eye, losing even one game can feel like a crushing blow. For fringe players on the roster, this might have been their chance to prove themselves, to earn more snaps, or even to secure their future in the NFL. With the game gone, so too goes that opportunity, and it's hard not to sympathize with them. What makes this situation even stranger is how unprecedented it feels. In the modern NFL era, cancellations are almost non-existent. Postponements happen occasionally, most often due to extreme weather or rare emergencies, but full-on cancellations? They're practically unheard of. That rarity alone has added a sense of shock and disbelief to this entire saga. Fans who have watched the NFL for decades are struggling to even remember the last time something like this happened, and the absence of precedent makes the lack of answers even more glaring. As the days go on, the pressure on the NFL will only increase. Fans want answers, reporters are digging for the truth, and critics are sharpening their knives. The league has a choice to make. It can continue to hide behind vague statements and hope the controversy dies down, or it can step forward and explain exactly why this decision was made. Neither option will fully repair the damage, but one will at least offer a sense of honesty, while the other will only deepen the suspicion that something bigger and potentially more damaging is lurking just beneath the surface. One thing is clear. The cancellation of the Packers versus Commanders game is not just a scheduling quirk, not just a minor hiccup in a long season. It has become a flashpoint for larger conversations about the NFL's transparency, its priorities, and its willingness to be accountable to the fans who make the league what it is. Whether the truth eventually emerges or remains hidden behind closed doors, this controversy has already left a mark on the 2025 season, and it is a reminder that in the NFL, even the most carefully constructed plans can unravel in the most unexpected ways. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.